As the sun sank beneath the horizon, painting the world in shades of crimson and ebony, Dr. Amelia Grant stared out at the looming, formidable structure before her. The Bartholomew Asylum, a stone fortress standing solitary amidst the barren wasteland, was home to the most heinous criminals known to mankind. Its icy exterior mirrored the chill that had begun to creep into Amelia's bones, and she shivered, though whether from the cold or from apprehension, she wasn't sure. Her mission was a terrifyingly daunting one, a challenge that even the most seasoned would balk at. Amelia, one of the finest clinical psychiatrists of her time, was tasked to extract critical information from Lawrence, the Labyrinth Harper, a notoriously enigmatic serial killer infamous for his unique and savage modus operandi. Harper, who had ceased to speak since his incarceration, lured his unsuspecting victims into intricate rigged mazes, treating their fear and helplessness as a grotesque form of amusement before delivering the fatal blow. Her first rendezvous was with Dr. Sorensen, Harper's former psychiatrist. The man was a shell of his former self, haunted and visibly tormented by the ghost of his encounters with Harper. He warned Amelia about the complexity and danger of Harper's mind, a labyrinthine maze filled with darkness and death. "His mind is a labyrinth, just like those he builds," Sorensen's voice had trembled, "and you must be careful not to lose yourself in it." Undeterred by the warning, Amelia steeled herself, wrapping her resolve tightly around her like a protective cloak. The gaunt, tormented face of Sorensen wouldn't dissuade her, not when she had a job to do, a duty to fulfill. As Amelia stepped through the formidable iron gates of Bartholomew Asylum, she felt a cold dread sweep through her, but she pushed it aside. She took a deep breath, bracing herself for the chilling labyrinth that lay ahead. And thus, her journey into the heart of darkness began. Over the following days, Dr. Amelia Grant found herself in the claustrophobic confines of the asylum's archives, reading through countless case files, trying to penetrate the enigma that was Lawrence the Labyrinth Harper. The descriptions of his atrocities, the photographs of his deadly mazes, all sent a cold shudder coursing down her spine. Yet a part of her remained fascinated, her analytical mind intrigued by the extraordinary, albeit terrifying psyche of the man she was about to face. Taking a break from her rigorous study, Amelia decided to pay a visit to Dr. Sorensen. Perhaps the man, despite his tormented state, could shed some light on the dark puzzle that was Harper. She found Sorensen in his quaint townhouse, a stark contrast to the menacing asylum she was becoming familiar with. The man, once vibrant and full of life, was now a gaunt figure. His eyes, clouded with fear, spoke volumes about the mental and emotional scars he carried. The meeting began with an exchange of pleasantries, but Amelia couldn't help but notice the shift in Sorensen's demeanor as soon as Harper's name was mentioned. His face turned ashen, and his eyes gleamed with a potent mix of fear and caution. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his fingers nervously tapping on the wooden armrest. "You must understand, Amelia," Sorensen began, his voice a barely audible whisper. "Harper's mind. It's not like anything you've encountered before. It's a maze, a deadly labyrinth. Each turn is filled with danger. Each path leads to a dead end. Harper is not a man, he's a monster, and his thoughts are filled with darkness and death." His words hung in the air like a heavy mist, chilling Amelia to her core. The urgency and dread in his voice were impossible to ignore, and for a moment, Amelia felt a flicker of doubt seep into her mind. But her resolve remained unwavering. She was a psychiatrist. This was her domain. "Thank you, Dr. Sorensen," Amelia responded, her voice steady. "I understand the risk I'm taking. I've faced darkness before." Sorensen nodded, his tormented eyes meeting hers. His fingers, previously nervously tapping, were now clasped tight. "Good luck, Amelia," he whispered, his voice echoing the dread of the treacherous journey she was about to embark on. "May you navigate the labyrinth better than I did." As Amelia exited Sorensen's house, his parting words rang in her ears. She stared at the towering structure of the Bartholomew Asylum in the distance, a shadow of fear, a beacon of challenge. This was her labyrinth to conquer, a nightmare to face, and a truth to uncover. She gathered herself, preparing to enter the maze, of Harper's mind. In the subsequent weeks, the walls of Bartholomew Asylum seemed to close in more on Dr. Amelia Grant. Each day was an exercise in apprehension as she found herself seated opposite the enigmatic Lawrence, the Labyrinth Harper. His piercing gaze, his eerie silence, and the stark, uncomfortable interview room felt like an oppressive trap. However, Amelia refused to be deterred, forcing herself to wade through the chilling silence and decipher the convoluted maze that was Harper's mind. The initial sessions were a test of patience. Harper sat, his icy gaze never leaving Amelia, but never uttering a word either.
Harper, I've been going over your files, your narratives, the mazes. They're intriguing. Tell me, why the mazes? What's their significance?
Amelia found herself questioning her resolve. The once exciting challenge now appearing as a labyrinth of horrors she was caught within. Yet, she soldiered on. She was a psychiatrist. Her duty lay in navigating the intricacies of the human mind, no matter how horrifying. Amelia used every tool at her disposal, every bit of her training, to break through Harper's ironclad silence, to coax out the man from the monster. And then, one day, Harper spoke. His voice was a low, gravelly whisper that sent chills skittering down Amelia's spine. He began to speak of his past, of a childhood marred by a twisted father who found cruel amusement in setting up deadly mazes, each one more terrifying than the last. His tales were a gruesome reflection of his horrifying deeds.
Picture a hardened boxer, built like a tank. His knuckles bled as he battered a reinforced steel door. His mighty frame was found crushed under the very door he attempted to tear down, his once fierce eyes mirroring the terrible realization of his end.
As the days bled into weeks, Amelia found herself lost in the labyrinth of Harper's narratives. One evening, Amelia sat in her small, dimly lit office, the walls lined with intricate maps of the asylum she had begun to study obsessively. She was leafing through Harper's case files, her eyes scouring the horrifying details, when a sudden realization struck her. The blueprint of the asylum bore an eerie resemblance to the descriptions of the mazes from Harper's tales. The more she delved into it, the more chilling the similarities became. The corridors, the rooms, the doors, each element of the asylum's blueprint seemed to mirror Harper's sinister mazes. The realization was as electrifying as it was terrifying. Could it be a mere coincidence? Or was there a more sinister truth hidden within the labyrinthine architecture of the Bartholomew Asylum? Doubt crept in, but Amelia refused to back down. Her encounter with Harper had prepared her for the darkest corners of the human mind, and she was ready to face the gruesome truth. She took the blueprints of the asylum and Harper's twisted narratives to the asylum's director. The director, a stern, unflappable man, brushed off her concerns, attributing her observations to stress and overwork. He dismissed the idea that the asylum could mirror Harper's mazes, convincing Amelia that she was merely seeing patterns due to her close work with Harper. Despite the director's dismissal, Amelia couldn't shake off the uncanny parallels between Harper's stories and the asylum's architecture. She decided to take matters into her own hands, to venture into the ominous labyrinth of the asylum, armed with the maps and Harper's stories as her only guide. Little did she know that her relentless pursuit of the truth was leading her deeper into a real-life maze, setting the stage for a horror far more sinister than she had ever imagined. Late one evening, under the cloak of darkness, Amelia found herself standing at the entrance of the asylum's old, unused wing. Armed with a flashlight and the asylum's blueprints, she felt the weight of the daunting task that lay ahead. The silent, looming structure before her felt more terrifying than ever, but she had a job to finish, a truth to uncover. As Amelia ventured into the depths of the deserted wing, she noted the bone-chilling similarity between the cold, echoing halls and the deathly mazes Harper had so eerily described. Her senses on high alert. Every creak, every gust of wind, felt like a threat looming in the darkness. She kept reminding herself that she was in the confines of the asylum, not Harper's horrific mazes, but the parallels were too stark to ignore. Hours turned into what seemed like days as she navigated the winding corridors and countless locked doors. The farther she ventured, the more uncanny the resemblance to Harper's narrative became. It was in the heart of this labyrinth that Amelia made the most horrifying discovery. Tucked away in a concealed room at the end of a winding corridor, Amelia discovered a sight that froze her blood. In the gloom, she found an array of grotesque contraptions, chillingly similar to the deadly traps Harper used in his mazes. The grim realization struck Amelia like a sledgehammer. The Bartholomew Asylum was not just a reflection of Harper's mazes, it was one. Overwhelmed by the shocking revelation, Amelia stumbled back. Her pursuit of the truth had led her right into the heart of Harper's Labyrinth, a real-life maze harboring a terrifying secret. This was no longer just an exploration of a killer's mind, but a chilling descent into a living nightmare. Still reeling from the horrifying discovery, Amelia found her way back to the inhabited sections of the Bartholomew Asylum. Every turn in the winding corridor seemed ominous, every locked door a dreadful secret. With each passing day, Amelia felt the weight of her discovery weighing heavily on her. She was torn between revealing the truth to the authorities or continuing to unravel this web of horrors alone. Ultimately, she decided to confront the asylum's director with her discovery. His earlier dismissal of her observations had rankled her, but she felt a desperate need to expose the horrifying truth.
I understand the risks.
However, when she met the director, the man seemed oddly unperturbed. He dismissed her claims with a casual wave of his hand, suggesting that her close work with Harper had led to an obsession.
It's about Harper, yes, but it's about more than that. It's about the victims who were lost in those mazes, in that asylum. It's about uncovering the truth they were subjected to. There's a responsibility here. I feel a pull that I can't ignore. I need to go back there. I need to understand what happened.
His dismissive reaction only fueled Amelia's resolve. She knew what she had seen. She was a trained psychiatrist, not a paranoid delusionist. If the director wouldn't believe her, she would have to find proof, undeniable evidence that would expose the terrifying secret the asylum held within its walls. Armed with her unwavering determination, Amelia decided to venture back into the old wing, this time with a camera. She would document the chilling evidence, capture the terrifying truth in undeniable proof. Unbeknownst to her, this decision would set her on a path to a chilling revelation, one that would not only shake her to her core, but also change the course of the story in an unimaginably terrifying way. Late one evening, Amelia once again found herself at the foreboding entrance to the old, unused wing of the asylum. This time, she was armed not just with a flashlight and the blueprints, but also a camera. Her heartbeat echoed ominously in her ears as she stepped into the silent darkness, a grim resolve etched on her face. Navigating her way back to the concealed room, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. She was about to expose a terrifying secret that would shatter the illusion of safety the asylum provided. Her flashlight danced over the haunting contraptions as she began documenting the chilling scene. Each click of the camera seemed to echo ominously in the silent room, each flash revealing a new horror in the darkness. Just as she was about to finish documenting the horrifying scene, a sudden noise behind her made her heart freeze. She turned slowly, her heart pounding, her blood running cold. To her absolute horror, she saw the door to the room slowly close, the chilling echo resonating in the darkness. In her shock, Amelia dropped her flashlight, plunging the room into a suffocating darkness. Frantically, she tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The realization that she was trapped hit her like a sledgehammer. The chilling echo of the door slamming shut seemed to reverberate throughout the room, the darkness creeping around her like a malevolent entity. Panicked and desperate, Amelia picked up her dropped flashlight, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Just as she was about to shine the light towards the door, she noticed something that made her heart stop. Reflected in the small mirror of a nearby contraption was the image of the asylum's director, standing just outside the door, a sinister smirk on his face. In the terrifying reality of her predicament, the horrifying truth dawned on Amelia. The director was not merely dismissing her findings, he was a part of this chilling secret. He was the puppeteer behind this deadly labyrinth, the conductor of this horrifying symphony of dread. As the chilling reality washed over her, Amelia felt a cold wave of terror sweep through her. She was not just trapped in the labyrinth that was Harper's mind. She was now a part of a real-life horror story, caught in a chilling game of life and death within the walls of Bartholomew Asylum. Time lost its meaning as Amelia sat huddled in the dark room, trapped, alone, and terror-stricken. Her every attempt to break down the door was met with failure. The room was a prison, and she was its captive. The asylum's director was the puppeteer behind this horrific stage, leaving her to wallow in her fears. Yet the grim circumstances did not break Amelia. Instead, it ignited a defiant spark within her. With newfound determination, Amelia began exploring her prison in earnest. Her psychiatric expertise and Harper's chilling narratives were her guide. Each trap, each horrific contraption, was a gruesome challenge she had to navigate. She was no longer a psychiatrist probing a killer's mind. She was a victim fighting for survival in a maze designed to kill. Hour after agonizing hour, Amelia used her intellect and intuition to navigate the room's terrifying traps. Harper's twisted tales took on a new meaning, his narratives providing crucial insights into the deadly labyrinth she found herself in. Just when hope seemed fleeting, Amelia found a hidden door leading out of the room. Her heart pounded in her chest as she cautiously ventured out, the oppressive darkness of the old wing of the Bartholomew Asylum giving way to the dimly lit corridors of the inhabited section. Exhausted but determined, Amelia finally made her way out of the deadly labyrinth. She alerted the authorities, who were quick to descend upon the asylum. The director was arrested, his sinister role in the chilling horror story exposed. Harper, in his silent cell, seemed eerily calm, his icy gaze still bearing the weight of the deadly secrets he carried. In the aftermath, Amelia found herself a survivor of a chilling real-life horror. She had walked into Harper's mind and emerged from the labyrinthine confines of the Bartholomew Asylum. Forever changed, a horrifying story etched into her soul. While Harper's tales of the labyrinth became public knowledge, Amelia's ordeal became a chilling testament to the horrifying depths the human mind could descend into. The tale of the Bartholomew Asylum served as a grim reminder of the terrifying reality that sometimes the monsters we fear do not lurk under the bed or in the shadows. They walk among us, their horrifying deeds hidden behind walls of silence and power.